Carrie Walters relaxed in her office thinking about the last 6 months. It had been the most wonderful time of her life. She was on top of the world. Her travel agency was doing a fantastic job and growing every day. She had bought the 6-story office building that her agency was in. She had 2 businesses waiting for an opening in the building. Things were going her way. She didn't think about how the money to buy the building had come from her husband selling his business at a great profit. Meanwhile, Jim, her husband, relaxed at home swimming in the pool. He finally had enough of his swimming and went into the house. Tammy, their maid, handed him a glass of cold lemonade. He thanked her and went to get dressed. That night at supper, Carrie said, "You know, Jim, I think it is time for you to think about doing something constructive, like starting a new business or something." Jim replied, "If I could get into something then maybe yes, but right now I am enjoying not having to make business decisions and wondering if I made the right one. All I am doing is enjoying the profit of the last business. If they hadn't come and offered me so much, I would still be going in every day and hoping that the bottom doesn't fall out. I was lucky to get in at the right time, and it looks like I got out at the right time. I don't think that is going to happen again." Carrie said, "You won't know until you try. When you were working every day, you came home all excited about what was happening. Now, you are just being dull talking about how you swam or did something on your computer. You have to do something to awaken the old you, the you that celebrated a right decision or a milestone advancement in business." Jim told her, "Someday I may be ready to give a shot at another business, but right now I am not ready to get on the firing line. I'll let you know when and if I am ready to give it another shot." Carrie said, "The longer you wait, the rustier you'll be. The sooner you get back into the swing, the better." He couldn't think of an answer to that, so he sat quietly and finished his meal. After supper, they relaxed in the living room. That night in bed, Carrie felt like making love. Jim wasn't responding to her hints. She was getting more and more frustrated with him. Finally, she took over and started to rub his penis. He started to get hard and she kissed him, forcing her tongue into his mouth. Then she mounted him. He laid on his back and enjoyed the attention. When they were done, Carrie said, "You didn't take the hints, so I had to take control. The next time I have to take control and screw you like a woman, I am going to put panties on you. I expect you to act like a man at all times. A man isn't afraid to start a business or take control in the bedroom." The next morning, she continued the push for him to consider something to do. She told him any business that caught his eye would be worth a try. He let her ramble on without answering. He went on his computer and while on the internet checked realtors for what businesses might be for sale. The only business that caught his eye was a woman's dress shop. That wasn't for him. He logged off and went to playing games. After lunch, he went for his usual swim. When he came in, Tammy handed him the usual glass of lemonade. That night when Carrie started on him again, he told her he had checked and that there wasn't anything for sale that caught his eye. She was a bit satisfied with the fact he had looked, but not completely satisfied. She vowed to herself that she would find something for him to do. Finally, in desperation, she said to him, "I don't like setting deadlines, but by tomorrow night I want you to give me something you can do for a job. It is bugging me that you aren't doing anything constructive and are just going to pot here all day. If you don't find at least something, I'll find something for you. The time has come for you to get your rear in gear or face serious consequences." He said, "I have to feel right about a job. If I don't, then there is no chance of success. You know that as well as I. With the money from the sale of my business, we bought that building you are in now. It was a business I had a feel for, not one that I blundered through. I'll check tomorrow, but I can't promise anything." They spent the rest of the evening with very little conversation. Carrie had a talk with Tammy. She said, "Tammy, you do an excellent job here and I hate to lose you here, but I have something you may be interested in. Ralph Hawkers is retiring at the office building. He is the cleaner there. You would be making more money there than I pay you here. If you are interested, I'll keep you in mind." Tammy said, "I am definitely interested. Thank you for the offer. Being a maid isn't hard, but it gets lonely here with just Mr. Walters here." Carrie said, "If you got that job, what would I do for a maid? Do you know anyone who could take your place?" Tammy thought for a couple of minutes, then said, "There isn't much to do. Mr. Walters could do it easily." Carrie thought for a couple of minutes, then said, "I'll get back to you tomorrow night." "Okay?" Carrie went back to the living room and looked at Jim. She tried to imagine him in a maid's dress. It brought a smile to her face. She thought about how she could get him into the outfit. The more she thought about it, the more she anticipated getting him into a dress. She thought about when she told him she might put him in panties and he didn't say anything to tell her that was not an option. It might be easier than she thought. At bedtime she reminded him he had tomorrow to find something. He didn't answer, and secretly she hoped he wouldn't find anything. The next morning she didn't say anything to him about finding something. He was grateful for the respite. As Tammy took his dirty dishes, she gave him a smile that made her look like she knew something he didn't. He did his usual thing that day. When he checked for any businesses for sale, nothing looked promising. That night he let Carrie know he was actively looking but hadn't found anything. She told him she was going to start looking for him. She said the beauty shop in her building was for sale, but he probably wouldn't want that sort of work. He was relieved to hear her say that. Later she was having a talk with Tammy. She said, "I think you are right. Mr. Walters can probably keep this place clean. The question is, how can I get him to do it, and how do I explain why you are leaving that he will believe?" Tammy said, "I have an idea, but I don't know if you will like it." Carrie said, "Go ahead, I'll see what it is and maybe we can come up with something." Tammy told her, "Well, suppose you caught us kissing. You fire me and make him take my place." Carrie said, "Tammy, you are a devil. That would be perfect. Let's see, tomorrow I have to get some things to pull it off. The day after tomorrow is Friday. Now how are we going to set it up for the timing?" Tammy said, "Well, every afternoon he goes in the pool. He comes in about 2:30. It would be perfect for me to intercept him when he comes in the door and give him a kiss. If you could be here and catch us, it would be perfect." Carrie told her it sounded like a great plan. She told her to report to Ralph the following Monday. Carrie was all smiles when she joined Jim in the living room to read the evening paper. Jim was thankful that she had dropped nagging him about finding a job. The next day Carrie couldn't wait to go shopping for Jim's new clothes. She got him panties, bras, and slips. It was harder finding him some shoes, but she found a perfect pair. They had 5-inch heels and locked on the feet. She got him some breast forms that she knew would stick out of his chest beautifully. Then she bought him a wig. It was in his hair color and would hang down to the center of his back in a curly mass. When she was done shopping, she almost wanted to call Tammy to set it up for that day, then decided to wait until tomorrow. When she got home, she was surprised that she got everything into Tammy's room without Jim seeing her. That night at supper she was so happy that Jim wondered what was making her so. He decided to enjoy the change. After supper Carrie talked to Tammy, setting up the final details. Carrie was full of anticipation. The next morning at breakfast Jim enjoyed a good laugh with Carrie. He was completely disarmed. He was enjoying life like he had never before. That morning he won 2 games in a row on his computer and at lunch smiled back at Tammy when he saw her smiling at him. He went for his afternoon swim. The water felt perfect. As he was in the pool, Carrie had come home. She went into the living room to be out of sight. Tammy was putting on lipstick as he entered. As he passed by her, she grabbed him. He was surprised by her strength and didn't put up much struggle as she kissed him deeply. "What in the name is going on here?" was the next thing he heard. It was Carrie. She continued, "Is this what you two do when I am at work? Tammy, you are fired. Go take off your uniform and get out." Tammy left the area and Carrie told Jim to sit down. He sat down at the table. Carrie was glaring at him and all he could do is blush. Carrie asked, "How long has that been going on? What are you two up to?" Jim told her, "That was the first time. She grabbed me and before I knew she was kissing me. I don't have any idea why she kissed me. Nothing like this has ever happened before." Carrie told him he cost her a good maid. Now she would have to see about getting another one. He stayed sitting as she was on the phone. He didn't know whom she called, but he heard her ask about getting a maid to 3 different places. What he didn't know was that she had called her office all 3 times and was talking to a dial tone and answering machine. As she was on the phone, Tammy came through and blew him a kiss as she left. Carrie hung the phone up then said, "I don't know why I even tried to get a new maid. I have a better idea. Follow me." Jim dutifully followed her to Tammy's room. Once there, she told him to get his swimsuit off. He removed it. Carrie said, "Seeing you were wearing Tammy's lipstick and it looked like you wanted to get into her panties, you can right now. Put these on." She handed him a pair of lacy panties. He was going to argue, but the look on Carrie's face told him to do as he was told. He slid them up his legs. Carrie said, "If you are going to wear her panties, you might as well wear the rest of her clothes. That answers 2 problems, 1 finding a new maid and 2 finding something for you to do. It works out perfect." He said, "I can't be a maid." "A man isn't a maid. You're crazy." The fact that he hadn't refused to wear a dress strengthened her resolve to get him into the maid's outfit. She was applying glue to the breast forms, as he stood there speechless. She applied the forms to his chest. He was in shock when she put the bra on him, saying, "You need support for your new breasts. I know you'll love them." He was surprised at how heavy they felt on his chest. He tried to think of a way to stop the nonsense, but his mind was all mixed up. Before he could think straight, he was dressed in a girdle with black stockings attached and the slip and maid's dress. Carrie put the wig on his head and arranged the curls to the best effect, then pinned a mob cap on top. He didn't know what was going on, as Tammy had never worn the cap. Then Carrie brought the shoes, saying, "A maid always looks better in heels. These will be perfect for you." She slipped the shoes on his feet and locked them. Then she told him to walk a bit. He tottered a lot, but she had to smile at how good the plan had worked. He was having a lot of trouble with the shoes. The shock was slowly wearing off. His head was spinning as he tried to think of what to say to his wife. He was having trouble coming up with a coherent thought of how to get out of this predicament. He walked for about a half hour with great difficulty. Finally, Carrie suggested he put 1 foot in front of the other. This seemed to help. Carrie was all smiles as she watched his rear sway. Finally, she told him to make her a lemonade. She told him how to serve it. He served it the way she said. She told him to curtsy and he attempted a half curtsy before feeling like he was going to fall. She had him practice. 10 minutes later, his legs ached something awful. Carrie told him he could stop. She told him to clean the living room, as she had to run into town for something. He got the carpet cleaner and started to clean. He got it done, and after putting the cleaner away decided he had to sit down. He sat in the recliner and put the footrest up. It felt so good. He heard her return and got up and was arranging the pillows on the couch when she came in. She told him it was lunchtime and that she would like soup and a sandwich for lunch. He fixed it and put everything on the table. She sat down and began to eat. He sat in his regular place and was eating also. Carrie said, "I don't know what you think you are doing sitting there. That is where my husband sits, not my maid. My maid eats after I am done. She sees to my needs as I am eating. You better get it straight." He continued eating as if nothing was ever said. She finished eating and said, "I'll let you get away with it this time, but you better do as I said in the future." She walked away and he thought he would be able to get some rest off his feet, but as soon as he was done she told him to hand wash the dishes. As soon as he finished the dishes she said he could go swimming. She said he couldn't go out bare-chested, so she had gotten him a new swimsuit. She handed him a bag and unlocked his shoes. He went to his room and undressed. He looked forward to the coolness of the pool. When he took the swimsuit out of the bag, he couldn't believe what he saw. It was a red bikini with yellow flowers and bright green leaves. He resigned himself to having to wear it and put it on. He swam in the pool for close to an hour. Then he sat in a lounge chair for a time. It felt so good to have those shoes off he wasn't going to hurry. An hour later he heard Carrie calling him. She asked for another glass of lemonade. He got it and she told him to get his uniform on. When he took the swimsuit off he was surprised to see the outline of it on his tanned body. It was very obvious to him. He got his uniform on and sat on the edge of the bed. Then he heard Carrie calling him. He went down and she wanted another glass of lemonade. He got it and she chastised him for not curtsying when he left her presence and not doing a very good one when he served her. She told him to start supper, which he did. He served her the supper he had made for her. She had him refill her water glass twice. She noticed his curtsies were getting better and that he was walking better in the shoes. After she had eaten he ate his supper and put the dishes in the dishwasher. He sat on a stool at the kitchen counter and thought about what was going on. He didn't like it and he tried to think of how he could put it to Carrie. Finally he went in by her and said, "I don't know why you are doing this, but it has to end. I am not a maid and I will not tolerate you treating me like this. We are husband and wife, not mistress and maid, so let's be reasonable and return to the way we were." Carrie said, "You don't seem to get it. I need a maid and you are available. You will remain my maid until I say different. When and if you wake up to how things are and how things are going to be, you will be a lot better off. I expect you to be the best maid possible. Do you understand what I am saying?" He replied, "Yes, but you have changed our whole relationship. Do you realize what you are doing and all the possible consequences?" She said, "I know what I am doing. I am doing it for a good reason and that's that." End of discussion. He knew it was worthless to continue. He didn't know what he would do, but he knew he had to do something. At bedtime Carrie unlocked his shoes. He fell asleep almost immediately. Sunday was just about like Saturday, except after his swim he headed right into the house. He did some serious thinking about the relationship he and Carrie had and the relationship they were in now. Monday morning Carrie ate breakfast and told him to clean the bathrooms real good. She left for work and he sat enjoying a hot cup of coffee. He made some life-changing decisions. He got on the phone. 30 minutes later he was in Paul Grissom's office. Paul was an attorney Jim had known for quite a while. He told Paul about what had happened. As he was telling Paul about it, he realized he'd been set up. Tammy would never have breast forms or heels that high. He told Paul he could see no way to change Carrie's mind. Paul said he would start divorce papers. Paul then asked about assets, and Jim told him about the office building in both of their names and the house in his name. He told Paul he had about $15,000 in the bank for a rainy day. Paul asked about Carrie's business. Jim told him as much as he could. He left Paul's office and stopped at Northern Realty. They were the ones that the building was bought through. The owner agreed to put Jim's half up for sale. He said he knew of a couple of people who might be interested in investing in it. Jim also had the home department of the realty company list his house. They told him they would be out that afternoon to do an analysis. Shortly after noon, Carrie looked out her window and saw someone taking a picture of the building. She went out and found out it was for Northern Realty and that it was because someone had put half of it up for sale. She knew it had to be Jim, so she headed right home. When she arrived, she saw two strange cars eye the driveway. She went into the house and immediately bumped into a man taking pictures. When she asked what was going on, the man told her they were taking pictures for the realty company. She didn't see Jim anywhere. Jim finally appeared with a man from the basement. She asked him what was going on, and before he could answer, the doorbell rang. When he didn't make any move to answer it, she went and opened the door. There were two men standing there. They asked if she was Carrie Walters, and she said yes. They asked her to sign for some papers. She signed and they handed her some papers. She opened the first one and saw it was a notice for a divorce action. She was thunderstruck. She never thought something like this would happen. When she looked at the other papers, she found a restraining order ordering her to have no contact with Jim. She thought the hell with it and sought him out. When she found him, she asked, "What is going on? We have to talk." Jim said, "I tried to talk to you last night, but you said you knew all the consequences possible. So you better leave. I don't want to have to call the police to remove you. You set me up and took advantage of me. Now, I am going to be my own man. You better go back to work and get your papers in order, as I am sure my attorney is going to want to see a financial statement of your travel agency." She left, and when she parked her car in her reserved parking spot, it seemed like everything hit her. She cried for over a half hour. She wondered what she had done so bad to deserve this. Then she thought about how she was going to lose the one man who loved her. She realized she had destroyed that love. She would get a lawyer and see if she could make amends. Exactly 1 year later, Jim owned a Western-themed eatery, which was flourishing. He had a very nice house and money in the bank. He had a steady girlfriend but wasn't ready to get married yet. Carrie still had her travel agency but had sold her half of the building and was engaged to a man she vowed she would never put in a dress.